Hello there everybody and welcome back to episode 12 of my Dungeon Crawl Stone Soup tutorial series. I'm Icon and we're going to brave the depths together today, and most likely we're going to go for our third rune in this episode as well. And these are really particularly dangerous things, and I'd say there's a nice chance of dying today. So we're going to talk about where we're going to pick the third rune today, and I also want to start out with the skill screen because I haven't touched this since a pretty long time now. So as you see here, we're on crazily high levels of fighting. I'm already at 25. It caps out at 27. We're going to turn on armor now, and I'm only keeping shields running right now because there is a tower shield there. Let's, by the way, pick that up. A tower shield is the biggest shield you can find in the game, and you will need a skill level of 25 to use it without any penalty. But tower shields are so good that I'm actually learning just for that reason right now to wield these things. Beyond that, every point of armor extra is good because it provides you damage reduction, and every point of evocations is good for me because it adds more oomph into my evocable items, wands, and so forth. And fighting gives you more HP and more fighting power in general. And that's how we're skilling it right now. And I'm most likely not going to change much about this training regimen until the very end of this run. That's why I wanted to talk about it. There's really not much more you need to learn. You can branch out into other things, but if it's really just your intention to win the game with 3 runes, you don't need more than that. Believe me, I did it several times. Okay, now with that out of the way, let's finally get started with killing stuff today. So the depths in general are really dangerous environments. As you see here, we're facing very ugly things and 2 dragons at once. This is a very dangerous situation, and with the Vampire Knight coming around the corner, it is already enough for me to get out of here. I don't want to stand with these hard hitters right next to a dude who has 0% chance to paralyze me. Never mind. But these are a little bit of behavioral things that I have grown myself, or that I have adapted into, which really do a lot when you're being under pressure of people that can totally paralyze you. Here you see the Flayed Ghost for first time doing his thing. So until the Flayed Ghost is down now, I have 55 HP less. The worst thing about this is this dude here can't do that by just seeing you. Luckily you get the entirety of the HP instantaneously back, so you don't need to worry about this too much if you're able to kill them quickly. But Flayed Ghosts in the backline are among the worst things that can happen to you. Alright, so let's see what's happening here. So this is a typical little vault which you will find quite often in the depths. So this rune door here is not gonna open on its own. We're going to have to open this. So here we see a couple of walking tomes. These are new enemies that have been added. I don't know how recently, but I have not known them when I started out. So these dudes spam living spells. So what they do is they create summons, and these summons will try to home onto you and release the spell that they are. It's a weird interaction, but to sum it up, earthen tomes can summon earthen spells, and the worst kind of them are the crystal tomes as far as I've seen, because they will summon crystal spears at you. And we've had the topic about Lehudip's crystal spear now several times before. This is one of the nastiest spells in game. Be wary about that. Also, stone giants are extremely dangerous unless you have reflection. Even if you have reflection, as you see here, my stats are pretty decent. Both boulders he flung at me were a hit. So over here we have another ghost thingy here. When you want to take down ghosts, check out how they look like. This is a gargoyle ghost with an obscene amount of AC. but beyond that, there's not much more behind him. So I'm pretty sure if I go for heroism and finesse, let's let him out. Let's see how this goes. So I'm not doing damage too often, but if I do, it's enough, and he's not going to hurt me either. So if this fight would have gone worse, I would have sipped in a potion of might to increase my damage potential. Ghosts are interesting out of two reasons. First off, they give a nice amount of XP, but also they often guard quite interesting items. So Hellhogs, do you remember me getting blasted by Hellhogs the other time? So here's the introduction. Hellhogs, they spit fireballs 24/7, and even if you are resistant to fire like I am here, as you've seen, they still deal quite a substantial amount of damage. That's because the elemental resistances of my character aren't that insanely good. They are okay, but at this point of the game, it would be better to have more than that. And meet my favorite nightmare, the Caustic Strike. Caustic Strikes are among the worst things that can happen to you in the game. They are beefy, 108 HP are a lot. They have a high EV, so you see every third blow goes into their evasion, and they deal 36 damage plus extra acid damage if they hit you, and they're very fast. The worst thing about that, their acid damage also inflicts corrosion, and Caustic Strikes are easily among the most dangerous enemies in the entire game. That's why I'm instantaneously pulling on finesse, and we're starting to whack this dude while we can. Okay, but there's more of these. When you're up against Caustic Strikes, the first thing you need to do is make sure that there's under no circumstances more than one strike upon you. And let's start carefully swinging at these dudes. Another option would be to use now beam attacks, like for example the lightning rod would be a beam attack, but for now, as long as it works, I'll keep swinging. Basically, you can't keep attacking them until the corrosion kicks in. Since we haven't had any corrosion yet. Here we go. First corrosion kicked in, and the worst part about the corrosion is that in this particular scenario, the fact that it lowers your +2 hit percentage. Here we're now at -1, so that's the point where you basically it's not worth trying it anymore. So let's try. I have paralysis wands with a 32% chance of smacking it. I'll rather take the mind burst, 32%, 62% chance of success. And here we go. Let's rest up and be happy that we survived the onslaught of 4 Caustic Strikes. I'm also going to put on the boots of the Jabberwock now. In this depth, where enemies like Titans and Sprig and Wind Mages become more and more common, flying by default is a risk. Especially if the flight is on your boots. Because taking off boots takes a couple of turns. When you're standing in front of a very deadly enemy who's ready to kill you just because you're flying, you don't have that time. So, get the idea. So here's one Titan behind bars. You could use a Wand of Digging and fray him and smack him, but you can also leave him there. His real threat here would be to punish people flying, because he would be able to use that airstrike on me even though the bars are in the way. Vampire mages, well, you already know a lot about vampires, but they're the most among the more dangerous ones because of their summon undead skill. Like all summoners, it really goes nasty when they are allowed to be unchecked. But as long as you're capable to swing something hard into their faces, they're going to go down quite easily. Here we go. Very, very carefully working myself forward here. The depths are a area where you can easily, very, very easily lose even very powerful characters. That's because the game does now use its worst enemies on you. And there are just enemies in this game that, well, when there's too many of them, you're in trouble. Take, for example, these Helephants. They are like a fusion of a dragon and a dire elephant. and a blink proc, I suppose. Tons of HP, they can breathe fire on you, they can trample, and obviously they can blink, but, well. At this point, we're easily capable of taking down one of these elephants, but if there would be a herd of 6 of them, with a couple of enemies behind that can cast nasty stuff from the backline at you, I think you're getting the idea. In these depths, it's really, really important that you have to accept that whatever attacks you will over-topple you. You will have no chance whatsoever to just run straight into the enemy and win every fight. The Minotaur excels at just running into the enemy and winning that fight, but at this point, you really need to stop that if you did it like that. Otherwise, you will be dying. So I'm now daring to go auto-explore. Here's a Lich. Liches, again, be careful with them. Orb of Destruction is a spell we didn't have yet. Orb of Destruction summons a little mob that's flying towards you, and when it reaches you, it explodes. Pretty nasty stuff, doing a lot of damage. Alright, Depths 3. From this point on, it's really, really dangerous. The depths come in 5 levels, and the 5th level always comes with the entrance to the Realm of Zot. And I personally made the experience, the deeper you go, the worse it gets. Also, floating eyes are totally dangerous. They can paralyze you, and the worst thing about that is there is no resistance roll against the paralysis of a floating eye. No, just does that. The key against them is to just check that you are never in the vicinity of extremely deadly enemies while there's one of these around. So here's the... oh, I hate Rakshasa. So I'm going to go upstairs here with the fire giant. Oh well, never mind. I'm not going to go upstairs with the fire giant. Rakshasa are enemies that are best killed while they're alone. If they got company, it only gets worse and worse. If you can, avoid every fight while Rakshasa are grouped with something, because they will spam these illusions of other enemies, and you will not be able to discern who's the real enemy anymore. And the worst part about it is the illusions deal exactly as much damage as the originals, so they're basically tripling the threat. And that's pretty bad. So here's a room with demons. Sun demons, well, they are surprisingly easy fellas. They're just swarming into you and smacking you. Nothing special about them. They deal fire damage. That's probably the most specific thing about them. Okay, the Balrog behind there is a little bit more nasty. Spellcaster and extremely high fire affinity. But also, one thing worth mentioning, Balrogs are your favorite source of demon whips or demon swords. And I just noticed that I found one of electrocution. So I have only one scroll of enchant weapon on me. That's a shame. That's truly, truly a shame. We're going to leave that one behind for now. But if I'll find more scrolls of enchant weapon, I'm strongly gonna consider using that. All right. So I'm working myself forward here extremely carefully. There's this stupid hell hog pelting me with fire. Well, okay, we're going to head back there. That's at these 80 points of damage you see. That's only the stone giant, while I was reflecting a couple of his projectiles. So stone giants are really mean. They're among the most mean dudes among in the line of giants. So there's a Tengu Reaver, and it's not really healthy to run away from them. Tengu Reavers are basically battle mages. They're pretty good fighters, but they have a pretty nice roster of various bulk spells to make your life miserable as well. But I didn't want to fight out there in the open, so I accepted the fact that he was pelting me with stuff. Sometimes it's better to run away, especially in these environments where you really don't know what's behind the corner. And there's one thing, one general statement, especially when you're in the late game of DCSS. If the environment looks handcrafted, be wary. Be very wary. Because you see, this environment here, this is no randomized dungeon. The structures here are way too regular, shaped and all. And usually that's a sign that the enemy packs inside here are also handpicked by some developer who wanted to make your life as miserable as possible. So be careful about that. So here I'm accepting the fight with the Rakshasa because he was merely duplicating a harmless enemy, but here we go. Luckily I picked the right one. The Orb of Eyes wasn't exactly something I'm too afraid of. Soul Eaters, well, their nastiest part is that they can drain life from a distance. Here you go. That's how it looks like. And they can do that from any distance. So, looks like this level has kind of a theme of all the four of elemental things there. So we had one fire chamber. Now we get some ice chamber. So this scenario with the ice statue in the center of that island, usually I run into these statues and kill them this way. But yeah, I'm going to use ranged attacks, I think, this time. Alright, so let's see. How much damage do the javs? 2 of them were enough. Javelins are powerful. That's why I like using them. So here we go. There's another horde of enemies. And the exits to this level are all hidden in the corners, so I'm really, really far away from any exit. And there's a Rakshasa right around the corner here. So this is now a really bad situation. Really bad. So we're going to pop one teleport scroll because I don't feel good about that. I don't want to be in the vicinity of a Rakshasa while there's so many enemies there. Reapers are very nasty dudes. They wield scythes and they are pretty strong with it, but beyond that, they are just strong melee units. Alright, more Ice Blast wands. Appreciate that. Ice Blast wands are cool because they can miss. Alright. So, we're just fighting here as long as possible. I know that I'm not particularly safe here, but on the other side, it ain't that bad either. But the situation is getting worse here with the enemies coming from 2 sides here. And the most bad thing about this right now is that the enemies are coming while I'm not allowed to regen up. So I turned on my heroism and finesse again to be a little bit more powerful, and I'm watching my HP melt down, and there's another Hellhog coming in, so there's really a lot of trouble homing in on me. So let's see if I don't have to flee here. So let's see. Was able to javelin away that dude. I'm using a little bit more of my ranged weapons here now. There's a Spark Wasp. Spark Wasps can home into you really quick with that Blink Bolt. And, well, the name implies already their affinity to electrical damage. So I see so many enemies coming in my way right now that I'm starting to run now. Just took down the Spark Wasp because I felt like I don't want to be followed by one lightning dude while not having any lightning resistance. And I'm going upstairs now. One troll I can't handle, but I'm not going to take that staircase again because there was a situation with troll, shaman, and regular trolls around the corner as well, and I don't like that. I really don't like when the trolls are allowed to buff themselves or one another. So here we go. And as you see, this level really is extremely challenging. If I wouldn't been on my toes all the time, there would have been a lot of situations already to die for. Or, well, I don't think we're going to get to the 3rd rune in this episode. I think we're just going to finish the depths here. Because slow progress, but that's okay. And I'd highly recommend you to do slow progress as well when you're down here. Because you've already made it so far, so many hours of gameplay, unless you're a speedrunner. But the gist of it is, usually until you're at this point, you really made it that far. Oh no, the enemy stepped into the alarm trap, and now I'm marked. So what we're going to do now is immediately start retreating. There's no use in staying here. The situation is bad. So right now, I'm carefully fleeing. I'm running away, watching my HP. And since I was never below 200 too substantially, I was okay with it. So killing now the Spriggan first, or, well, the Air Mage, and then the Quicksilver Dragon. Quicksilver Dragons are nightmares. The worst thing about them is that they can dispel all beneficial magic on you. The good thing about them is they can also dispel all detrimental magic on you. In this scenario, the dragon just dispelled my mark, which was good. So let's take this staircase because it ain't hot anymore. And we're working ourselves through here. So the amount of enemies on this level is extreme. The danger level of this one is actually quite similar to what we had in the rune floors before. Here, see, there's living spells. This is an ice blast. This thing is spamming ice blast spells, and if they walk into you, they'll explode. You should avoid that. Shadow dragons, well, they are quite dangerous. They spit negative energy, and since my character doesn't have any negative energy resistance right now, I'm quite concerned about them. I really think that this is something that I definitely need to change as quick as possible. Because shadow dragons will be more and more common later down the road, and yeah. So here we go. This seems to be the Undead Corner. You've reached the Undead Parlor. Okay. So Iron Troll, Tengu Warrior, Spriggan Berserker, and a War Gargoyle. So this is the point where I'm switching on my God Gifts again. Mainly because I got no clue what's beyond that in the room. The enemies in front of me weren't that super scary, but if they had much and worse reinforcements, it would be really a problem for me. So here we have the trolls being buffed up, but you know, while I'm myself buffed up like that, I'm not that afraid about them anymore. So here we go. Finesse went off, so I gotta be really careful now. Killing off the trolls, though, does mitigate a lot of the pressure. So here we go. There's something invisible bashing at me here. We never know what it's going to be. It had a artifact quarterstaff though. I think it was a vampire. Okay, now we're going to get rid of this section. So slowly but steadily, their situation here is coming under control. Okay, there's a golden dragon. By now, we're so strong that not even these dudes are marked as red anymore. That's a good sign. When golden dragons are supposed to be normal enemies for your character, you're definitely already pretty powerful. Okay. Iron dragons, we haven't had these yet. They are the only non-elemental dragon type. They basically just come with a lot of metal damage, so you need pretty decent AC against these. Oh my god, this is bad. So there's a Quicksilver Dragon and a Deep Elf Demonologist around the corner. So let's see, can I Mind Burst that dude? Only 15% chance of success here. So Acid Wand is way to go. I want to stay away from the line of sight of that Deep Elf Demonologist as long as possible until I can smack him. Here, this, by the way, a Necrosac, is the worst thing that Demonologists can spawn because of the Malmutate thing. Malmutate will trigger a negative mutation on you, and you can't really do anything against that, and it's permanent. So that's why you don't want these Demonologist spam stuff. Basically, if you don't pay attention correctly and you let them do their thing too long, you can easily get malmutated beyond recognition if they are sitting a couple of Necrosec in the back line. allowed to do their thing. So you must avoid that under all circumstances, basically. Alright, so you might have already noticed the middle of that room is growing more and more horrible. Here's a orange brain. It tricked me. It blinked away. So that's why line shot projectiles are really good. I was just pelting that brain with my javelins through his allies. So here's the centerpiece of this map. Lots of treasures, well, relatively speaking. And, well, the majority of the threats of this level are now dealt with. So I'm daring to go auto explore now. Okay, but you know, that's the depths for you. This level took me way longer than I thought it would, but that's okay because I'm still alive. So here's another demonologist. I'm just gonna use my javelins on him. So, oh, remember that Rakshasa that I didn't want to fight? Let's pelt that dude with javelins. You know, there's also a nice way to get rid of the illusions, and that's just killing the Rakshasa. As far as I've seen things as well, there's one thing worth mentioning. Rakshasa usually don't hold more illusions of different creatures. Most of the time they only illusionize one creature. So, did I read correctly here? Yes, I found a scroll of brand weapon again. So we can give another try. A demon whip of flaming, huzzah. So, is that actually better than the flail I got right now? I highly doubt it, honestly, at this point. I should have went for the evening star. Oh, man. After all this bad luck, I went brain dead. Okay, whatever. Scroll of acquirement. Let's pick the gold. What have I done? I shouldn't have picked the this one. That was a bad choice. Cloak of preservation. Well, that was acid and corrosion protection. Well, I'll keep that in mind if I'll need it. And here we go. The depths level 4. So it didn't get less dangerous here, but at least the first thing that I can already see, it's no longer a theme level. Theme levels are, I personally think they are the most dangerous. You know, the levels like the one we had just before. I personally think they are the worst. But, well, I think that's always also depending on your character's strengths and weaknesses a lot. So let's step back so the summoned weapon can do a little bit of whacking too. By now, I think the spectral weapon is more powerful than just a flaming demon whip. But there's one thing that's bothering me a little bit, and that's the fact that it feels a little bit like cheating. Oh, there's Death Yaks. They are even berserking because they were... You know, those Spriggan Berserkers, they can summon berserking animal chaps. Let's see. Here we go. The spectral weapon feels a little bit like cheating out of a simple reason, because Okawaru forbids allies. And if that ain't an ally, I don't know what is. So, I really think the devs there should rethink the stance of Okawaru towards spectral weapons. I think they should be forbidden. So there's another pack of Caustic Strikes. I'm going to go into Finesse. The Finesse is really important for me to make sure that my attacks are fast enough. Jiangshi, well, they're not really that dangerous. Vampire Mage, splattered them. Okay, so another good thing to use against Caustic Strikes are stuff like the Lightning Rod. Basically, all consumables that can't miss are really, really useful here. And let's go. So this is as bad as it can get. We're going to use all our Lightning Rod charges here. Oh, I got swarmed here yet again. So let's do this. I'm trying to soften them up as much as I can before I go into the actual fight. Because line shots give me an opportunity to hurt all of the strikes before I go into combat, and softening them up a little bit even if it's only a little bit, if you have a fight of 4 or more of these beasties ahead of you, every little thing is worth it. And if it doesn't go down that smoothly as it does here, it's totally okay to pop a scroll of teleport and hop away if you're not able to take down more of them. It's totally okay. So here we have our first Draconians. Draconians are usually a sign that you're getting close to the Realm of Zot, because the Draconians guard the entrance to the Realm of Zot. So I'm pretty sure that we're going to find what we're looking for here. So I'm quite surprised, because I thought that the entrance to Zot was at depths 5, but obviously things have changed. Okay, we're taking down a couple of dragons by now. These are pretty harmless enemies. That's pretty good feeling, I can tell you. But, well, going down on 150 of 240. This is always the moment when I'm growing more and more cautious, but we seem to be fine. Okay. So, more Draconians, more Stone Giants, and here it is, the entrance to the Realm of Zot. Obviously, the depths got shortened by 1 level. It was 5 levels once. Forgive me the wrong information. I didn't do that on purpose. And here, there are a couple of Nekosak on me already. Let's do this, and you see, here strange energies course through your body. You feel weaker. And that's now going to stay with me for the remainder of the game. You can't cure that by sipping potions of mutation, but you will always receive other mutations. There is no way of just getting rid of the mutations. Okay, we cleared the depths, and we're still alive, and all that has happened is a small mutation giving me weakness. I'm okay with that. So, my dear friends, we're going to go for rune number 3 in the next episode, and I haven't made up my mind where we're going to go. Either Abyss or Walls 5. Let's see. So, drop me your comments down below, leave me a thumbs up, and subscribe if you haven't done so already. There's daily content coming up from my side, and I'd be delighted to have you as well. See you guys next time, and goodbye.